To Matt Serra and Jim Norton on Unfiltered. How you doing?
What's up, Joe?
Pretty good, man. How are you guys?
Very well. We just got the old hi-hat from TJ Dillashaw, so we're happy to be talking to you.
The hi-hat?
Yeah, he was booked on the show, but he didn't know he was booked on the show, and then he was heading out to practice, and he was none too pleased with our interruption.
Well, Jimmy asked him. He goes, "Oh, so we only got you for a little bit then?" He goes, "Oh no, I got to go now." So you know what Joseph? You know what I say? I say I'm on Team Alpha Male. That's what I say. Sorry, Joseph. I don't want to make it weird for you because I know you're friends with everybody.
No, all good.
Joseph's a good dude.
Hey, Joseph is fighting Dustin Ortiz in a rematch, but you're the alternate for the main event. Have they talked to you about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
What did they say to you? If one of these guys can't fight, that they want you. Is that why you're on this card? Like,
yeah. Hold on, real quick.
This is great. I think he's at the airport.
No, he's at the gym. It sounds like.
Yeah. So they told me since the get-go. So this fight has honestly been like crazy, like roundabout to get. So after my last fight, they called me 2 days later and asked me to fight Davidson Figueiredo in Anaheim. Right? Kid's tough, undefeated. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. And then I got that fight. The card got moved from Anaheim to Brooklyn. So it went from 7 weeks to 6 weeks. When it went to 6 weeks, Figueiredo had a big issue with it being a week before as far as like weight and preparation and everything, but which is kind of crazy because it's like if 7 weeks is good, how is 6 not? But whatever, for whatever reason, you know, his people and his team agreed that it wasn't the best thing in 6 weeks. So I actually just went from fighting Figueiredo to having no fight, and they said, well, now that Figueiredo's out, we don't have any room on the card. You can just be an alternate and make weight. And that's a really tricky situation when you guys think of that. And I don't know if you guys have talked to other guys with it, but it's like you get paid a minimal amount to weigh in, which is cool, whatever. But it's not really about that. It's about you have to prepare for a title fight with two different guys. Your team has to prepare for a title fight. You got to do everything for a title fight, and essentially it's like you prepare for a title fight and the guy doesn't show up if you don't fight. But still, you're not getting paid like show or anything. So I always pushed for a fight. I was like, listen, I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity of fighting for a title if someone messes up. Like, I'm your guy. Let's do it. But I want to push for a fight in case, you know, I do all this training and, I'd still like a fight. So, enter Dustin Ortiz, tough guy, had a fight with him 4 years ago. So this is a rematch. He stepped up. Glad he did. That way, nothing wacky happens in the main event. Everything goes as planned. I get a nice, tough fight against Dustin Ortiz, a guy who I obviously respect having fought him already.
Yeah. Well, Dustin's a fun guy to watch also. But now let me ask you, I understand the point. It's got to be hard to get motivated to lose that weight and everything without having an opponent. That's got to be rough in itself. But how motivated are you to fight somebody that you already have a win over?
Very, very motivated because that was a fight like, it's kind of weird, I mean, when you beat someone like really good, finish them or whatever, like you never want to fight them again because it's kind of like you're not going to do better. Yeah. Like some guys, knocked out quick or choked out. It's like, all right, I don't need to ever redo that. With Dustin Ortiz, it was a fight where I got done and I won, but it was one of those ones where I knew I could have done better. You know what I mean? So I get the chance to. So that's motivating as well because everyone has those fights, Matt, where you win, but you still are like, you know what? I could have actually used a little more this, a little more that, a little more, strategy, a little more of this. So it's a fight where we can do that and we can kind of look at the improvements we've made since, which is always fun to do. Funny enough, I actually have never won a rematch because I've lost to Demetrius and Dominic. So I get another rematch to just redo it and see how far I've come, really fight a new opponent. And like I said, it was one of those fights where I knew I could have improved after, so now I get the chance to 4 years later.
Plus the reality is if you're going there just to weigh in, I mean, you don't know if you're fighting until the day before. I mean, and it's just the emotional roller coaster of that to kind of go through a camp and then have nothing to show for it at the end. Is, that's got to be really hard.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, the whole time it was kind of like, you know what, this is just a great opportunity. I freaking thrive in chaos. Like, I don't even care. And, like, what was funny about it is the training was actually really cool because I started training, and, every time you're interviewing someone and you ask them about training, they're like, oh, I'm worried about myself. I'm not worried about the opponent. I'm worried about what I do. Like, I feel like I've said that and guys have said that, but it's literally impossible to not worry about your opponent if they're right in front of you, unless in the case that I had where I didn't have an opponent. So I hit a mid session, and I was literally just trying to be the best I could be. There was no wrong or right or do this or do that because this guy's doing that. I was literally just trying to be the best I could be, and I was like, oh, this is what I've been acting like I've been doing every fight, and every guy acts like they do, but, like, now I can actually do it. So it's actually super refreshing and motivating in a way. And like I said, like, it's an opportunity. It's not just like, hey, you're here and I'm outside of the UFC and I'm at an event, and in case someone falls off, I'm on. Like, this was for a world title on, a really big stage. So, that was motivating anyway. Like I said, like, there was no way I was going to miss out on that opportunity, even when Figueiredo fell out. So I'm just grateful to have an opponent now.
Yeah. And Joseph, where did you have your training camp for this fight?
Las Vegas. Yeah. I'm between I do all my work here. Vegas is so great with all the resources and the UFC PI that I can literally go out where you're part of a team. You are like with this coach at this time, so I do like a lot of my stuff at Extreme Couture, but I typically use my own coaches. Casey Halstead for jiu-jitsu, Eddie Baracco is my stand-up guy. I got all my bodies and stuff at Extreme Couture. But then whenever I get closer, I take some of those bodies and make them more intimate practices, more personalized practices that you can't get when you're training with a team of 50, 60 guys.
Yeah, it's smart. It was very smart of you actually to line up. I always thought if they pay the guys more, like you said, you get paid a minimum to weigh in, but if they paid guys more, and I'm not saying necessarily exactly what you'd get in a fight, but you might be able to get really good fighters willing to come and make weight in case somebody drops out. You might have a better crop of fighters willing to do that if they paid you guys a little bit more money.
Yeah, I think they would. But a lot of the times when these fights do come up anyway, it's such a good opportunity that if you're a fighter, you just look at the opportunity and you're like, you know what? I'm basically training to get better. Yeah. You're basically training to get better. You're just like, you know what? It's not like I'm not going to get better in 6 weeks preparing for a fight. I'm training anyway. Might as well get paid a little and not miss out on an opportunity. So I think most fighters in my position would look at that. Obviously, some guy's going to make a fit. That's kind of what we do. Everyone in this sport is always, deserves more. But all in all, like at the end of the day, when you get these are usually offered for big opportunities. Most of the time, fighters are going to take it. And I think, they know that. They know that, hey, it's a big opportunity. It's hard to turn down.
Now, you have a split decision win over the champ, Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about – I know, and that's great, by the way. It's a nice feather in the cap. Now, what do you think about his fight with TJ? How do you think they match up?
Man, it's so hard to look at because we look at TJ – and how unstoppable he is at 35 and how incredible he looks at that weight. And you think, oh, he's that good at that weight and it's a weight up. But dropping a weight down, it's an X factor. Like, you never know how a guy's going to perform. It's not always what everyone thinks it is, which is, hey, the bigger guy's going down. No, he's going to be smaller. He's coming to Cejudo's weight. Like, Cejudo is going to feel like he does every time. TJ is going to be a different version of what he was, a smaller version. So it's kind of hard to see. Like a 35-pound TJ against a 25-pound Cejudo coming up, that's a little more viable. But having never seen TJ at 25, we'll see what happens. Obviously, his technique and aggression and strength and everything at 35 is great, but coming down 10 pounds lighter, I think he still brings the power and speed necessarily, but the speed's totally different at 25 as well. And I think TJ's not necessarily like an extremely fast guy, even for 35. He's really good at his timing and his angles. So, I think that'll stay. Speed, strength. We'll see how it goes. That's what I think makes the fight exciting. That's what's great about the division. And, it's like this division is so exciting for the first time in forever. We got a new champion, an Olympian. We already got like a super fight with a pound-for-pound guy like TJ coming down. So we got me with a win over the champion, lingering on the undercard. So, the division's more exciting than ever. So I'm just glad to still be there. It's really the longest reigning flyweight, seeing what it's come to, and what we're doing.
And Joe, you mentioned the division too. I wanted to ask you about that because there's been a lot of rumors that they may or may not stick with the flyweight division. There's been rumors that they were going to get rid of it. I'm sure you've heard those rumors. And how does that? Is it something that if that happened, you would have to fight somewhere else, or would you, in a way, try to prepare yourself to move up? Or how do you feel about that?
As far as I'm concerned, it's a rumor right now, so it's just conversation. The reality of it is there's a title fight. The reality of it is I've had 2 fights since that rumors have been started. So for me, it's business as usual. So it's hard to answer those questions when there's not really an option.
And how did you feel about Mighty Mouse leaving? I think it was a good thing because it was like a cordial, like, agreement. Like, it seemed like he wanted to leave. Like, he was happy with it, I felt like it wasn't a bad thing. Like, hey, we got to get this guy out of here now that he lost. It was like, hey, I have nothing more to do in the UFC. I want to take my talents elsewhere, finish out my career, maybe getting paid more. I have nothing to prove, and I want to go more international. I thought, like, hey, whatever is good for him is, I'm happy for him. He's a good guy. He deserves the best. He's a great family guy, great athlete, ton of respect for him. So, if he thinks he's doing the right thing for him and his family, then I think it's the right thing as well. And then as far as just the division, I think it opened things up, like, it reminded me a lot of, like, the 85-pound division. Not that Anderson Silva, like, left, but when he lost, like DJ Anderson, they're 2 of the greatest of all times, but like those divisions were almost like stuck up by like their brilliance for a while. When Anderson was on his title reign, his last few fights were like, no one wanted to watch him. They were really hard to watch, really odd matchups, really weird fights. And when he lost, it's like the whole division opened up, and we had Weidman is champion. Now Weidman's here, and like it seems like there's been like 5 champions. Everyone at the top 5 can kind of like beat each other. There's just great matchups that open up when like you don't have to pull guys from the bottom to fight the top guys because the top guys ran through everybody. So him leaving like opened it up, and like I see that as the flyweight division now. Is like when Anderson Silva got knocked out, the division got so exciting. Now it's still one of the most competitive divisions. And I see that in our division where it's like now anyone can really beat anyone. I think there's amazing matchups that open up.